All right. It was great asking Coach Jimmy Johnson last hour what he thought of the offensive line and Saquon Barkley. And do you see comparisons between that Cowboy team that ran the ball, played lights out defense? And did you see comparisons? He says, if you have a quarterback that can get it done, Jimmy was like last hour, yes. Well, little birdie told me, and we had a conversation with a friend of ours. Obviously, Warren Sapp, I'm wearing the U here, so Coach knows what's going on here. So somebody told me that somebody had a little conversation with Nick Sirianni about this certain DT that the Eagles have. His name is Jaylen Carter. And I got to tell you, before I bring Coach Dungy on, let me show this to you. I played next to Jerome Brown. And I said this on draft day. The characteristics of Jerome Brown, hands, quickness, feet, tenacity, he reminds me of my teammate, Jerome Brown. Let's bring in a coach who, without a doubt, built one of the great defenses. And I'll never forget, listening to John Lynch. Coach, John Lynch said this when you guys were 0-8. Man, Coach, I just don't know. And you went, what are you talking about? I feel you're this close. I get it. Coach, welcome aboard. I appreciate you coming here with us. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, thank you, Dan. And you made some really, really good points. Number one, that comparison of Jaylen Carter to Warren Sapp, same type of guy, powerful, quick, tenacious, disruptive. Yes, and he's got it going, and he has been the catalyst for this Philadelphia defense in their resurgence here.
Coach, without going into exactly what you said to Nick about him, I mean, Buddy Ryan had to tell Jerome, hey, it's about being special. It's not just about being good and showing up, on Sundays. You've got to assert yourself. And Jerome came back and told me, he goes, hey, don't be common. Try to make yourself great. And that kind of changed his fortunes. He goes, you're playing next to Reggie. Don't let Reggie be the guy. You have to be the guy. Is that kind of the context on what you were talking to Nick about on elevating his game? Because he has elevated it, and he's playing lights out football, Jaylen Carter.
Yeah, he did. We talked about that. He said, I've got a special talent here. This young man can be the best defensive tackle in football, and he is a lot of the times. How do I get him to be that guy all the time, every down, every play, every game? And we talked about some different things. We talked about Warren. I didn't have to talk to Warren that way because he had that drive. He wanted to be the best. So for him, it was just technique and what do we do and how do we implement things. But I'm not sure what Nick said to Jaylen about 6 weeks ago, but whatever he said, he needs to bottle it and sell it.
Coach, this team is kind of built in the way that you love a team to be built. You were a believer in running the ball, point of the attack when it came to your O-line, especially up front. Monty having that great defense along with your input and all those great assistant coaches you had as you guys built that defense on the Tampa side, and then obviously what you did in Indianapolis. But, I mean, Coach, can you win a Super Bowl when you have a quarterback that's being efficient like Jaylen and then just running the ball, running it 48 times in today's NFL, having a good defense? Right now they're at the top of the charts in almost every metric there is. Can you win a Super Bowl with that style of play in today's NFL?
Yes, you absolutely can. And the reason you can is because they're doing it on both sides of the ball. They're dominating the line of scrimmage up front offensively, getting those holes for Saquon, protecting their quarterback, and they're doing it on defense where you have to really deal with that front seven before you get anything going. Now, the thing that they've got that people underestimate and why I think they can win the Super Bowl is if it gets dicey, if you need big plays, they can produce them. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, they're guys who can go for 100 yards apiece in a big game if they need it. And, last night we saw a great example. Yes, Saquon's running well. They've got the game under control, but they throw 7 balls to A.J. Brown. He's got 6 catches for 100 plus. They didn't need the touchdowns. If they needed them, he could have delivered them. They've got explosiveness when they need it. So I think they're right there.
Coach, do you think Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback?
I do. I think he's a leader. I think his team believes in him. He can make plays with his legs. You have to defend a lot of things with Jalen. Just like Patrick Mahomes, you've got to defend the original play. You've got to defend the scramble. You can't just chase down Saquon Barkley every time there's run action because you've got to defend Hurts on the possibility of keeping the ball on the zone reads. And he is not turning the football over right now. He's playing efficient. He's playing sound. And there's no question he's the leader in that locker room. So, yes, I think he is elite.
Coach, I had great conversations with Monty Kiffin, and you're the architect of the cover two. And if you don't have linebackers like Derek Brooks or like Pittsburgh had with Mike Tomlin when he had Ryan Shazier, who was another one of those seam-type linebackers that can play in space. The game is so much in space today, Coach. You know, the old style Levon Kirkland guy, that guy's not in that football field any longer. How important was it for Vic? Because that seems to be his forte. Coach, if you remember right back in the day, he had Vaughn Johnson, he had Sam Mills, he had Ricky Jackson all on that Saints defense. That was one of the greatest linebacking cores of all time. And now you're seeing Zach Bond, who came from the Saints from nowhere. Kobe Dean has picked his game up. Coach, is it scheme or is it the Jimmies and Joes, in your opinion, that make it? Because he's transformed this defense overnight, Coach, into being the number one defense in the league.
They've got some really good players. Now, it's both. You have to be sound. You have to motivate those guys. You have to put them in position to be who they are. But great offense, great defense comes from having great players. So, yes, Tampa 2 was great because we had Warren Sapp and John Lynch and Derek Burks and Rondé Barber. And it was great in Pittsburgh when we had 5 Hall of Famers on defense, too. So, yes, I can come into your office and say, Dan, I've got this great scheme, hire me, and I'm going to put John Smith and Bill Jones in there. And you say, why doesn't it look as good? Well, yeah, you got to get those players. But part of it is finding the players that fit what you want to do. And I think that's what Philadelphia has done.
Coach, if you had to flip a coin and land on one thing, would you take Detroit or would you take Philadelphia right now in the NFC? What team do you like right now?
Right now, the way they're playing, I would take Philadelphia because of that defensive front. Now, you put Aiden Hutchinson back in Detroit, and it's a different thing. Detroit is explosive on offense, and they can score points and put points up. But Philadelphia is explosive too. We've seen Saquon, we saw him go 70 yards twice last night. So they can score that way and put up points. But Philadelphia right now, the way they're controlling the front with their defensive front seven, I like where they are. If Hutchinson was still playing, to me, it'd be a different story.
Coach, do you agree that now we're starting to see the separation, probably Green Bay, Minnesota, I would guess, and also Philadelphia and Detroit in the NFC. But, Coach, this is going to come down to playing consistent ball and the war of attrition because last night the Eagles lost Brandon Graham to a tricep tear, so that's a major – he was killing it last night too. I mean, PG's 37 years old, and that guy found a fountain of middle age or something, Coach, because he was killing it last night. But is that what this comes down to? It's really going to come down to Howie Roseman and how much depth that he has put on this team, especially when you're in this time of the year.
It is, and you've got to be fortunate. You've got to have things go right for you, and you need everybody down the stretch, and you've got to stay healthy. Kansas City has had some catastrophic injuries on their offense. Maybe some of those guys will get back. If they get Pacheco back and Rashee Rice is able to come back at the end of the year, they'll be looking much different. You want to stay healthy. You want to keep your guys engaged and keep playing, and you have to hope that you don't get that catastrophic injury. Our team in 2003 in Indianapolis, Dallas Clark was a rookie and playing well for us. He got hurt right around Thanksgiving. We didn't have him in the playoffs, and we missed that. Okay, in 2006, he goes down the same way, same weekend, right after Thanksgiving, and we're thinking, oh, my goodness, ACL, there he goes. Well, the doc calls us right before we're going to put him on IR, says, no, I think we can just rehab him. He comes back and has a monster playoff. We don't win that Super Bowl without Dallas Clark. So we're a little fortunate there. And you've got to be healthy. Got to have all your guys coming down the stretch.
I remember, Coach, too, a couple last questions for you, Coach. I remember, those defenses that you had. Dwight Freeney's from Connecticut. We know each other very well and big fans of him. And, he said this, man, every time Bob Sanders, man, went out, it was just different secondary. But Bob played with such a tenacity that, he was always – but, Coach, so when you lose a guy like that, like you're saying there, it just throws off the rhythm of your defense or it throws off the rhythm of your offense. So, again, like you said, this is going to come down to a lot of luck, and it's going to come down to attrition here on who has the better rosters.
And Brandon Graham, they've got a deep front, and he doesn't play 100% of the snaps. But Brandon Graham was an impact player and an emotional leader and just a physical leader in that locker room. So they're going to miss that. Aiden Hutchinson, tremendous impact player for the Lions, being out. Maybe he can come back, but they're going to need him. And that's the way it is for every team coming down the stretch. You can't afford to lose those critical playmakers.
Coach, this weekend, the Eagles have the Ravens. I mean, if you're talking about an MVP game, you're talking about situating yourself with your playoffs at both the AFC and NFC side. You got Derrick Henry, you got Barkley, you've got Lamar Jackson, and you got Jalen Hurts. You got Sirianni and John Harbaugh. I mean, you got Hamilton, and you've got this kid Cooper DeJean. I mean, it's really an all-star.
Big-time players.
I mean, who do you like in this one here this weekend? Because it's going to be a big-time ball game.
Well, I think the Eagles have a tremendous advantage that the law on the road. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Monday night on the road, big game for against the Chargers. The Ravens are going to have to lay it all out and then come back with a short week after 2 long flights and not being as rested as Philadelphia. That is going to be that extra day, I think, gives Philadelphia an advantage in this game.
Coach, absolutely awesome for you finding time for us. Thank you so much. I mean, everybody in Philly's jacked up, especially after they saw that iconic performance last night. I mean, I don't know if you were on the field, Coach, or if you were in Pittsburgh the night OJ went for 273 on a Monday night against that steel curtain. I was a little kid, and I'm like, holy cow. Joe Ferguson is nobody. He was a teammate of mine with the Bucs, and I told him, I saw OJ go for 273 versus that steel curtain team. And that year, that steel curtain team, I forget, I think either that year or the 75 season, you guys shut out like 5 teams.
27 quarters, 27 straight quarters with no touchdowns. Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the great performances last night, though. Barkley over 300 total yards, right?
Incredible. And this team is running through Saquon now, and that's what they need to do. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. Coach, thank you so much, and God bless. Have a happy holiday, you and your family.
Great to be with you. You too. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll be and big game. We will definitely be tuned into Ravens Eagles next week.
You bet, Coach. Thank you. God bless, Coach.
All righty.
You bet. The great Tony Dungy. Absolutely awesome. Iconic in Tampa. One of our dear friends, and we so appreciate him coming aboard with us. That was absolutely great. Do me a favor, guys. How about that? Jimmy Johnson and Tony Dungy. Did Dungy say Hurts was elite? Can we do this? Can we edit that out? Is there any way we can edit? I'm going to stop asking that freaking question. Yeah, look at Sue. I gave Sue a ton of shit. She thinks I hate her. Hey, Sue, just holler back at me. Coach, who's out there that would look at for edge? Philly, I don't think there's anybody. I really don't. I really don't. I don't think so. All-star cast today, Sills. Brian, what do you think I do here? I only bring, hey, by the way, sometimes I just get lazy and I don't call. You know what? I booked those people today. What do you think I did? Those guys I called 4 or 5 weeks ago. I called Coach Dungy today and I said, Coach, can you have a couple minutes for me? He goes, yeah. I go, Coach, before you get on your private jet, go back to Almirada. Can you come on today? Yeah. Would you like Eric Allen tomorrow? By the way, Gary Cobb was awesome. You know what he said? I'll do it tomorrow, man. I want to listen. Thanks, Gary. Okay? Yeah. Hurts is just a different kind of elite. New age elite. Yeah. It's called common. He's okay. He's all right. Yeah. Elite. Nicole, hey, Sills, how the sweet potato pie? Haven't had it in a bit. I'll let you know after the holidays. Yeah. I'll let you know after the holidays. Gary Cobb's the best. Sills lazy? You know, lazy, Matt? When's the last time you saw me take a day off that wasn't holiday related? Have you ever? No. Lazy? Now, I may want a Corona every now and then. Great stuff, Sills. Love the show. We'll love Eric Allen tomorrow. All right. If I can, if I can remember, all supers go to the top. If you could get Donald Cox off the streets, Jason Pierre-Paul, who I know well, lives in Tampa, went to USF. Giants firing head coach and GM. They should be. They're stupid. All right, where are we on the like number? Look at this. Latoya. I bring you Jimmy Johnson and Tony Dungy. No Gary Cobb today? Tomorrow. Okay? There's just no pleasing people. 461. We may have a shot at 600. I don't know. How about that, Xander? By the way, we're going to get Mr. Eagle on himself, I believe, at the top of the hour. We'll get Mr. Eagle himself. By the way, you should have heard his bullshit yesterday. Oh, my God. Did you see? I was like, yes, I seen it. Yes. I've played against some of the greatest running backs of all. Yes, I played against Walter. Hey, here, so you know on that list. Let me get this list. Okay. I've played against Walter Payton, and I've played against Eric Dickerson. Those guys were on the list. I played against those guys. Yeah. Oh, did you see that? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I know. It's all good. Yeah, it's all right. 456. That's great. All right, I'm going to take a timeout. And then Junior Krause is going to be on at the top of the hour, waving his Eagles Super Bowl hat. Holy cow. Hey, by the way, let me say this to you. Sills, how do you feel about the team on November 25th? Do you really now believe in them? I don't need the Raven game. I heard John and Xander say that. I'm done with that. Now it's about playing good football. If they drop that game, I don't care. I want them to win it. But if they drop that game, is that going to make me not think that they're still a team to beat in the NFC? No. Well, if they got crushed, I still wouldn't do it. I've seen great teams get crushed. Remember the year Kansas City blew out the New England Patriots? They went on to win a Super Bowl. Fucking cares. One game doesn't define a season. It does. I don't need the game on Sunday to define them and what they're doing. After what I watched last night and what I've been watching, I can't. Here's what I'm not going to do any longer to what Xander and John did today. I'm not going to go, well, let me see what they do against the Ravens. That's not going to define it. We got 6 games left now. Okay? I think we're pretty good. Last year at this time, they were 10-12. They were 10-2. It just looked different. And it doesn't look the same. Okay? It just doesn't look the same.